is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. A breezy, windy day here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida, home to the St. Louis Cardinals. And this afternoon, they will welcome in the Detroit Tigers. And welcome to St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're delighted to have you with us. Miguel Cabrera is in the lineup today, the future Hall of Famer, and it should be fun to take in Cardinals baseball. The Cardinals have put a premium on fundamentals, base running, and defense in this camp under Mike Shildt. And we'll see some of that defense on display today.
Well, everybody loves hitting, but you win games by playing well defensively. And the Cardinals have a couple of terrific defensive players, including Harrison Bader, maybe a Gold Glove in his future. He electrified Cardinal fans last year. Colton Wong, also a potential Golden Glover.
And a couple of guys also to talk about. They're in the lineup today, staying with that theme up the middle, behind the plate, Andrew Knizner and Paul DeJong.
Yes, they have terrific opportunities to make contributions in 2019. Paul DeJong, especially important. Knizner will probably be in AAA, but DeJong's ability to play every day at shortstop, not a lot of defensive backup for him.
Jake Woodford, he's on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's the Cardinals, the Detroit Tigers. A breezy day, a little bit cooler here this afternoon at Roger Dean Stadium. And we have Cardinals baseball on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. And it comes your way next. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Steak and Shake. Come into Steak and Shake and get 4 meals with 4 items for $4. 444. Get more for 4. Only at Steak and Shake. The Cardinals are 1-1 on the young season, and today they will face the Detroit Tigers here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. And the 22-year-old right-hander Jake Woodford, 6'4", 215 pounds, is on the mound.
Comes from a long line of first-round picks who were pitchers for the Cardinals in the last several years, and he's really the next guy in line to start to shine. He's got a couple of minor league all-star appearances in his favor, and he's also been on 2 winning teams, Dan. So here's a guy that we're going to hear more about. Woodford has a power arm.
Woodford's inconsistent start to the season in Double-A gave way to a complete 180-degree turn in the Pacific Coast League to finish off 2018. And there's a look at Mike Shildt's defense. Many of the regulars in there. Martinez, Bader, O'Neill in the outfield. On the infield, Jerko, DeJong, Wong, and Ravello. Knizner behind the plate, and Woodford on the mound. And there's a look at the Tigers lineup with Reyes at the top. That's Mike Cameron's son, Daz Cameron. Then Miguel Cabrera, who is not happy with the way he's swinging the bat, so that's why he's made the trip here to Jupiter. Then Goodrum, Candelario, Hicks, Peterson, Castro, and Rodriguez.
Zero power. Zero power.
Cardinals feel that Jake Woodford is very close to being a big leaguer. That's why you're seeing him make that start today, and the first pitch is a strike.
And the finish you talked about last year were 2 starts in the playoffs, in the PCL playoffs, and he went 11 and third innings, giving up just 1 run. He was a Game 4 winner in the PCL Championship Series, and boy, it's nice to finish strong going into the next season. Open some eyes.
You think about Ryan Helsley. We saw him pitch in Game 1, was very impressive, maybe the most impressive thus far. And Jake Woodford, 1 step away from making it to the big leagues. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes on Victor Reyes, hit up the middle. To his left, the shortstop, Paul DeJong, and there's 1 away. It brings in Daz Cameron. His daddy was a pretty darn good player.
Yes, he was. Mike Cameron. And Daz Cameron is the number 8 prospect for the Detroit Tigers.
Mike Cameron, a longtime major leaguer, Gold Glover, former All-Star. Daz was drafted by the Astros before being flipped to the Tigers with Franklin Perez and catcher Jake Rogers, part of the package used to acquire Justin Verlander for Houston's run to the World Series. There's a strike, and as you can tell, Jake Woodford is a very, very quick worker.
Doesn't need that 20-second clock, does he?
No, sir.
Which we called in
the hitter's clock.
The hitter's clock. I might expand that a little bit. The hitters get in the box, will you? Clock.
Spoken like a pitcher.
Yes. I don't know if we can make an acronym out of that to make it a little shorter, but
there's the pitcher's clock there, which is now ticking down to 10 seconds. We've seen on average it gets to about 5, and then the pitchers are ready to go. Hitters are ready to go. There's a little chopper foul. As you might expect, Daz Cameron is a plus defender, plus runner. Last year he was finally called up to AAA. That's Toledo. And the Tigers, in talking with those that cover their team, they feel he could make an appearance in the big leagues this year at some point. Very good defensive player. That pitch taken high.
This is the kind of thing you see in spring training a lot. Cameron at 22, followed in the order by Miguel Cabrera, who at 35. Big age difference there, but you've got the young stars and you've got the stars we still come out to see, like Cabrera. I was excited, Dan, to see
me too,
that he made this trip.
The 2-2 pitch fouled back. And when Miguel says, I want to make the trip, Ron Gardenhire says, no problem. You'll be penciled in.
So Cameron was probably 6 or 7 years old when Cabrera first made it to the big leagues. You don't want to bring that up to a veteran player, though.
No, sir.
Be careful if you do.
Ooh, he just missed on the inside corner. I was thinking the last time I saw Miguel Cabrera, to get a look at the curveball that missed a little bit in. Last time I saw Cabrera here in Jupiter, that we did a game, he had 2 home runs into the wind in dead center field.
I remember that.
So it's been a number of years since he's been at Roger Dean Stadium. 3-2 pitch, lifted into right, and the catch is made. The wind is blowing towards the pole in right and a little bit towards the outfield as well, so it's blowing out. And a nice round of applause for Miguel Cabrera. What a player. He played in only 38 games last year. He had season-ending bicep surgery, now 35 years of age. He's played more than 130 games just once in the past 4 seasons. And his contract, Ricky, runs all the way through 2023, so he is signed up long-term, and he's just trying to get his timing down. He did play yesterday in a 10-6 loss to the Phillies, and he said he was uncomfortable at the plate. So today he mentioned about taking pitches, seeing pitches, live pitching, and just trying to get his swing down.
Not only did he have the bicep problem last year, he had back problems the year before. So he hasn't played a lot in the last 2 years, and Ron Gardenhire certainly wants to be careful with him. And so he's going to DH him quite a bit. But Cabrera really wants to play the field, too.
Good start. Jake Woodford. Cardinals coming up. And that means Harrison Bader at the top of the lineup here in Game 3 of 15 on Fox Sports Midwest. We are your home of Cardinals. Jake Woodford, a 1-2-3 inning for the St. Louis Cardinals. And now it's Daniel Norris, the lefty for Detroit. And Harrison Bader looks at a strike, and we're underway here in the bottom of the first. Bader, Martinez, DeYoung, Ozuna serving as the DH. Jerko, Wong, O'Neill, and Kisner, Ravello for St. Louis. Harrison Bader had a couple of hits in his first start in Game 1. We saw Daniel Norris last year, originally drafted in the second round by Toronto all the way back in 2011.
He had a rough year too because of injuries. Only 11 games, 8 of those starts.
And a fastball and a strikeout of Bader. I'd say a little different pace in the game we saw yesterday.
Well, that's what throwing strikes will do for you. The Cardinal pitchers yesterday had 11 walks. Hadn't really totaled them up as the game was going along. I knew it was a lot of them, and 3 wild pitches to go along with it. And it was poor Francisco Pena was all over the place trying to catch some of the pitches early on. So it was tough, a tough afternoon for Daniel Ponce de Leon and also for Genesis Cabrera.
Jose Martinez takes a ball high, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Infield playing him to pull, and a 2-0 pitch. There's a strike.
I knew that the announcement was pretty early that Victor Martinez was no longer going to be a Tiger for 2019, and I had in my mind that the Tigers might be one of the teams that would be interested in Jose Martinez as a DH.
Agreed.
They did sign Josh Harrison early this week. And they've got a couple of new faces.
That's hit out of play. Some of the signings and pickups, they had lefty Matt Moore, shortstop and the former Pirate Jordy Mercer, right-handed pitcher Tyson Ross, and as you mentioned, Josh Harrison, also a former Pirate, just signed with Detroit. And Harrison does have a connection to the Tigers. His uncle, John Shelby, finished his career with the Tigers back in 1991. And Harrison will wear number 1 out of respect for former Tiger great Lou Whitaker. And it was Jordy Mercer who kind of put that over the top. He was a factor in getting him to Detroit, along with John Shelby, and said, you're gonna love playing in Detroit. It'll be a good fit for you.
And the hitting coach has the Pirate background as well, Lloyd McClendon.
That's right. Good at bat by Jose Martinez, a 1-out walk.
I won't say it though.
Peterson, Cameron, and Reyes in the outfield for Detroit. Candelario will be their everyday third baseman. Castro, Goodrum, Rodriguez along the infield. John Hicks behind the plate, and Norris is on the mound. It brings in Paul DeYoung. First pitch swinging, and it's popped up on the infield.
I got it. Oh, damn.
That'll carry all the way into foul ground, and that gives you an idea of the wind blowing here at the ballpark. Ronnie Rodriguez with the catch, and this is probably the coolest day we have had in camp this far in 2 weeks.
And we know what the wind can do at this ballpark. I expect at least one ball to be misread in the outfield, maybe misplayed because of the wind factor. The one ball that was hit to right already was handled very well by Tyler O'Neill. But I suspect we'll see some funny plays in the outfield today because of the wind.
Marcell Ozuna, the designated hitter. Breaking ball and a strike. Interesting comments yesterday. We missed the telecast with John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, saying that we've got to get Ozuna up to speed with his throwing by the middle of March, maybe the 3rd week in March, and that's laced out to left field, and the catch made. Cardinals trying to runner. Woodford back to work. No. Cloudy day here in Jupiter. Glad that you're with us wherever you may be. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Second inning for Jake Woodford. Had a nice conversation this morning with Jason Isringhausen. He's back home in St. Louis. And we've talked about the impact that Jason has had on many of the young pitchers in the Cardinal system. And Jason will be in camp in early March. This is Nico Goodrum, the switch hitter. And Jason has had an impact on this young man. And Izzy telling me that he said, I like this kid. He said he's very close. And he said a lot of it is just, you know, you're 18 when you come to the Cardinals, like any young kid, and now he's 22. You're growing into your body. You're away from parents. And he said when we acquired him or drafted him, he's a supplemental first-round pick. He was throwing in the high 80s. And now he's mid-90s. And he's not throwing as many two-seamers. And for fans that don't know, the two-seamer would give you the sink, as you know, Ricky, quite well. And there's a walk to lead off this inning. But now you got the four-seamer. And he's throwing much harder than he once was. And so learning to deal with that. And something also that happened, and there's Mike Maddox, who we'll visit with later in our telecast, but at Memphis, they also had the chance to show him some analytics. They work with what's called TrackMan Baseball, and it's a 3D Doppler radar system that measures location, trajectory, and spin rate. And so you had analytics going with eye test. Jason Isringhausen, Braden Looper, former Cardinal that also works with many of the young players. And so here's these guys, these former major leaguers, taking the data and also working with young players and trying to help them. And it's interesting how the two come together, and getting to a young man and saying there's some things, young man, that are working, some things aren't, but here's the eye test, we see it, here's where we think you can be better, here's the data to back that up, and let's come together and get you to the next level. And Jason said he's a great kid, open to listening. You hit that wall, let's get you over the hump, and they do it. And let's give Izzy and Braden, a lot of these guys, a lot of credit, and his coaches at the minor leagues that get these kids to another level. And here he is, Ricky, a chance to get to that next level and be a big leaguer. And this is Jeimer Candelario at the plate.
Well, you're really looking for what language communicates to a young player, and they're all different, Dan. But if you can marry the analytic proof as well as the eye test experience of a guy like Isringhausen or Looper, and you've got his attention and he's listening, that's the best of both worlds, because you can really prove it in different ways. Some guys will hear and understand the numbers better than others. Some will just want to learn it physically. Show me. Don't tell me, show me. Or I need to feel it, or tell me where I'm doing what you're talking about. But the other factor, frankly, for a young pitcher, Dan, is when he was 18 years old pitching at Plant High School in St. Petersburg, he could probably throw whatever he wanted and it would work.
Sure, you get away with it, right?
So you get to the next level and you're going to do what you did there, and oops, that doesn't work anymore. I got to find what works and what plays at each level as you get higher and higher. And you may need a new tool, you may need a new pitch, you may need a new philosophy, as you mentioned, the two-seamer and the four-seamer. And I think that's just part of the development process, finding out what plays at the next level.
And when you make the jump in velocity, you know, you start throwing a 88-mile-an-hour pitch belt high at the professional ranks, you're in trouble. So learning to deal then with the advancement in your velocity and how you deal with that and spotting it, that's going to help you clearly get to the next level. Soft liner hit left side for the first out.
Now that is one thing, frankly, I never had to worry about, because I never got the advanced velocity, unless you could say, you know, I went from 82 to 83.
Well, that helped.
So I didn't feel like I had to change everything that I did. But there is a reality. Hitters will talk about the kind of the hitting zone, the speed. You know, if you're below average, you can kind of pitch differently with movement and maybe just location. Then you get into hitting speed, and then you get above hitting speed, the guys with the high octane stuff. But it's almost like you want to stay out of that middle range, because that's where hitters are most comfortable.
And John Hicks pops it foul. So leadoff walk to Nico Goodrum. Candelario, the soft liner, hit left side, and now John Hicks. 260 last year, the average. Detroit went 64-98 a season ago as they endured back-to-back 98 loss seasons. Ricky mentioned Victor Martinez retired, and the club this season, Ricky, will pay $55 million combined to both Jordan Zimmerman and Miguel Cabrera. And that's nearly half of the projected opening day total payroll for 2019. So they didn't do a lot in the offseason. Got some players that are veterans that, you know, could be chips.
Right.
At the trade deadline. It's going to be, again, probably a tough summer for them. You know, you get those chips that you can use to maybe help supplant maybe the minor leagues, but could be a long summer again in the Motor City. We'll see.
Well, there's certainly talk about the National League, and I think it's warranted conversation that it might be hard to be a 100-game winner in the National League because a lot of teams that were down have gotten better. San Diego, Cincinnati. So you might not have the ability to feast on a club and be a 100-game winner. The National League East plays the American Central. And so maybe the Washington Nationals would be and that's really going to probably be the American League Central, the weakest division projected anyway. I mean, things could change. Cleveland's probably going to win that division again, or at least that's who you'd expect to win. But the National League East will get to play in interleague play the American League Central, so that may help them pick up some extra wins.
And the Cardinals will see, and the NL Central will see, the AL West. Hanging breaking ball drilled out to left field. Digging it out of the corner, Jose Martinez. Goodrum will score, and John Hicks makes it a 1-0 Tigers lead here in the second inning.
We talk about a hanging pitch, and it just sat there, and it's baseball terminology probably since Abner Doubleday, and it's a pitch that has not quite the sharp spin to it, and it doesn't break sharply, quickly, and it seems as if it just sits there or hangs there in the middle of the zone. So when we say a pitch is hanging, hitters will tell you when it's hanging. They'll have swings just as Hicks did. But pitchers try to avoid that. That's what a pitcher would say would be a mistake, and you have to limit those, especially with guys on base.
There's Dustin Peterson, and that pitch taken low. So you hear the American League West, and that means the LA Angels coming for the first time since he left St. Louis. That means Albert Pujols coming to St. Louis.
And that in and of itself is exciting. But what about the fact that Mike Trout's coming with him? And Cardinal fans, I mean, we're not even talking about Mike Trout maybe enough on how awesome it is to watch maybe the game's best player.
Not maybe.
Currently. Yeah, I'd say definitely the game's best player. We've seen him, of course, out in L.A. or in Anaheim the times that we've gone out there in interleague play. But Cardinal fans are going to get a chance to see him and Albert. That's going to be terrific.
And Ohtani.
I got my tickets already. I'm good.
I do too.
I'm in.
You know, if this would have happened year 1 or 2 after he departed St. Louis, I think the reception would be mixed. But now that so much time is gone by since he left St. Louis, I can't wait to see and hear the reaction from Cardinal fans when he does come back. I think it'll be just a monster positive reaction in his favor when Pujols comes back. And
meaningful to him. Knowing Albert as we do, that's going to be important to him. And, you know, people can do what they want. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But I am saying that if you think you're cheering for, supporting, rooting for Albert on a personal level, not for him to have a big series offensively against the Cardinals, but at least acknowledging what he did, if you think that doesn't mean anything to him, I don't think you're right about that.
Peterson with a base hit into right field to make it 2-0 Detroit. Dustin Peterson, the 24-year-old outfielder, comes through with that single to right, and it's 2-0.
First inning was so easy for Woodford. Second inning been a bit of a different story.
And it brings in Willie Castro, who is the 9th ranked prospect for Detroit. He was born in Puerto Rico but raised in the Dominican, and he was the Indians' top non-Cuban international signee back in 2013. Inked a deal for nearly $1 million.
Another switch hitter. They have 4 switch hitters, the Tigers do, in their lineup today.
And he was acquired by Detroit from the Indians as a part of the deal for outfielder Leones Martin, and did make a jump to AAA for Detroit.
One thing I'm seeing with Jake Woodford here, and it's obviously a small sample size, is he doesn't seem as together out of the stretch. First inning, out of the windup, everything was nice and easy. Boom, 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 strike, strike, strike. He's jumping a little bit to the plate, maybe not quite as smooth in his delivery out of the stretch.
Good pickup by you, yeah. I always like to mention this. Rick Horton was a part of the 85-87 championship teams with the Cardinals. Won a World Series ring in '89 on that historic, or '88, excuse me, '88 historic Dodger team, and Kirk Gibson, and well, we all know the rest there. But also a coach at the professional level, so you pick up on those little things with the pitchers out there. What was I thinking? '89. 89 was a pretty famous year for a lot of teams.
Yes, it was.
But '88 was all about Dodger blue.
There's the delivery out of the stretch in slow motion. And the question is, the arm dragging a little bit. That last pitch was right on time. He did not hang that curveball. It was much sharper. But what can happen out of the stretch, Dan, and pitching coaches look for this. You see a pitcher who maybe doesn't get his arm going quickly enough, and the body is out in front of the arm. That makes things flat. And that's last pitch, a perfect example of it. His lower half was out ahead of his upper half, and he couldn't get the ball out in front of him to pull down that curveball. And of course, if you pitched, you know that feeling because you've been there. I mean, you've experienced that.
1989 was our good friend Tony La Russa.
That was
Bay Series.
Bay Series, that's right.
1990 was the shocking run by the Cincinnati Reds over Tony La Russa.
Jose Rio.
It's all right. Just talking with Barry Weinberg today. Barry has a new book coming out. Barry, a longtime trainer with the A's, Yankees, Cardinals, and working on a book that's coming out very shortly. 1 ball and 1 strike on Ronnie Rodriguez. And a ground ball that's hit to short. DeYoung, a flip to his partner up the middle, Combois. Couple of runs against Jake Woodford midway through 2. Tigers on top. 2-0 as we move to the bottom of the second. Jake Woodford probably done today, as the starters thus far have gone 2 innings. And Norris in his second inning of work now for Detroit. And the first pitch to Jed Jerko, taken low, and we're underway home half of the second.
I mentioned yesterday Tyler O'Neill is a guy we shouldn't forget about when we talk about this 2019 season, and I would say the same thing about Jed Jerko.
Agreed.
I don't necessarily think he's going to be opening the season starting, but he's going to have plenty of chances to play, plenty of at-bats. His versatility is key. But what I mentioned in the open, Dan, Jerko can play shortstop, but that's not his position. Drew Robinson can play shortstop, but that's probably not his best. Jairo Munoz can play. The point is, if DeYoung has to be out for an extended period of time, I don't think the Cardinals' utility players are necessarily everyday shortstops. And that good reason for Paul DeYoung to play 162 games.
And that pitch taken high, and the second walk the Cardinals have received today. I want to say hello to Pat Bartow, watching on Fox Sports Detroit in Battle Creek, Michigan. Now, Pat Bartow is the mother of Brian Bartow, who is our longtime associate colleague that has been running our public relations department. He's in his 33rd year in PR for the Cardinals, and he came in and said, guys, can you say hi to my mom? We said, Brian, whatever you need. But then I said, Brian, how cold is it in Battle Creek, Michigan? He said 19 degrees. So we're not trying to rub it in, Mrs. Bartow, but we're a little chilly here today because it's breezy. It's our coldest day of camp, but still it's beautiful.
You're actually wearing a light coat, Dan.
I am. I'd say jacket.
Yeah, jacket's
not a
better.
coat, yeah.
78 degrees, so it is a little problematic.
So, Pat, you should be very proud of Brian, and one of the real good people in our organization, and he's been with us a long time. So hello to Pat Bartow, watching on Fox Sports Detroit. Here's an 0-2 pitch to Colton Wong.
One thing I've noticed on my Twitter feed, Dan, I'm sure you have too, that fans are just so excited baseball's back on, and I feel the same way, and so do you, that Cardinal baseball is back, and it is stunning to me the notes I've been getting from people all over the country,
everywhere,
watching, and not just the country, the world. We're tuning in Vermont, and we're tuning in Oregon, all over the country, and we know that the Cardinal fan base goes beyond the St. Louis area, but it's just a good reminder of that fans are ready for baseball.
And a fly ball lifted into shallow right field. Wind playing tricks on that, brings it all the way back to the second baseman to make that catch. And the play made by Nico Goodrum. And there's one away. Jerko back to the bag at first, and it brings in Tyler O'Neill. You know, talking with those around the coaching staff, they want to get an extended look at this guy here, Tyler O'Neill. What did they have in Tyler O'Neill? You know, they know he is so powerful, so strong. The analytics will tell you that this is a guy that, if given 400 to 500 at bats, he has a chance to do that a lot.
So that's not analytics, that's the eye test. That's a line drive to right center that you can throw some analytics with it that'll tell you that, you know what, that exit velocity was
pretty good,
but
wow. I wonder what the exit velocity is on that. That's a shot to third, and a nice play made by Candelario.
When you hear that loud crack of the bat, that's pretty much an indication of exit velocity. Boom. And he barely had time to get out of the box.
You know, the other thing, we talk about his strength, how big he is. He's probably one of the strongest players in the game. He can run well, too, and we saw he can play defense. Multiple positions in the outfield. There's Andrew Kisner. Kisner has handled the bat well, and he's appeared in all 3 games now for the Cardinals this far this spring. Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, you pull for guys like Daniel Norris, who was part of the David Price deal that brought him to Detroit. He's a cancer survivor. Had thyroid cancer, was going through a dead arm stage at one point in his career. Ricky was throwing, 95 to 96, and all of a sudden severe drop in velocity. Had no arm issues with his shoulder or his elbow, and when Detroit made the deal, they found out that he had cancer, but still made the deal with the understanding that he would have to go through treatments and have those treatments to remove the cancer from his body. Still did it. He survived it, talks about it openly, and an inspiration for many, many people. So obviously you pull for guys like Daniel Norris. Tim Trokey, our producer, tells us that the new pitcher is a recent draftee, and we didn't imagine that was that gentleman right there, but he was. Evan Krasinski will tell you about him in just a moment, as we want to remind you that Busch Stadium Premium Party Suites are a great way to enjoy a Cardinals game. Party Suites feature a full-service bar in each suite, newly enhanced menu, and a renovated design perfect for entering That's sweet. And then entertaining your clients or friends. Learn more at cardinals.com/premium suites. Evan Krasinski. Mike Maddox specifically talked about this lefty and wanting to watch him pitch in game action.
There were high reports about him last year. He pitched in Palm Beach, then went to Springfield. There's just some upside to him. He's just 23. And again, you're left-handed and you're 23. You're going to get a look.
Hit down the right field line and foul off the bat of Victor Reyes. He's a Florida State League All-Star. He was promoted to Springfield July 27th. Effective starter on their pitching staff. Johnny Rodriguez, who is the manager at Springfield, says he's got a chance to help St. Louis down the road. Johnny Rodriguez, the father of Sean Rodriguez, very good utility man, number of years with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Talking to Johnny today and telling me that Sean is now with the Philadelphia Phillies. I said, when are the Cardinals going to get your son?
Yeah.
He said, well, I've tried it. He said they were close a couple of times. Boy, Johnny's such a good guy.
I've told this story several times about Johnny, but I had a long conversation with him during spring training a couple years ago, and he was talking to me about the first time he had a chance to watch Sean play on TV, hit a home run, and he said, I couldn't stop crying when I saw it. And he was crying when he was telling me the story. I mean, just think about the joy that he would have if he was in a Cardinal uniform. We'd get more fights, I'll say that.
There's into left center, pretty well hit, and it's off the wall, and there's Cameron into second base. So Daz Cameron with a one-out double here in the Detroit half of the third. And it brings in Miguel Cabrera. Any doubt in your mind that Cabrera is a Hall of Famer?
No. I was thinking about that earlier. Just there's no question. He was the game's best player for several years in a row. I would say there was a time where you might have put Pujols in that category, but Cabrera was in his prime at the time too.
Advancing Cameron to third. You know, you mentioned how it's been a while for him to get timing, so it's been 8 months since he played in a game at any speed. He's played in 2,264 games in his 16-year career. So still, even with all those numbers, there's the active home run leaders. It still takes time.
You suspect it'll get to 500. I mean, that's a pretty magical number.
He hit number 400 in St. Louis. And that pitch in the dirt, the infield in.
Think about this moment. If you could somehow get into the mind of the pitcher, Evan Krasinski, he's pitching to Miguel Cabrera. I mean, he's played against professionals before, but not like this. This is a unique experience for him. Now, he did pitch in the Arizona Fall League, Krasinski, and showed well there. That is often a stepping stone to maturing to the next level.
Most of the talk has been that he would open up at the rotation at AAA this year. And Cabrera looks at a ball, and so the double. Wild pitch, advancing Cameron to third, now a walk. So a little bit of trouble here after the initial ground out. One out, runners at first and third, and Nico Goodrum walked and scored back in the second inning.
We've seen it a couple of times with pitchers this spring, both for the Cardinal side and the other side, that the game can get really fast on you quickly in spring training, especially, Dan, if things don't start going well, because you just don't have that body of work behind you.
Could be 2, 4, 6, 3 on the double play. Nice work.
Stop spinning.
That gets out of it very quickly. The 4-6-3 double play. Wong to Young, over to first, midway through 3. New pitcher in for Detroit, and that's Victor Alcantara. Signed with the Angels, international free agent back in 2012. Angels traded Alcantara to Detroit in 2016, part of the Cameron Maben deal. And he started last year at AAA. Tigers called him up July 5th, and he pitched 30 innings at the major league level.
Good numbers.
2.40 ERA at 21 strikeouts, and they talk about him being part of their bullpen this year. So a major league pitcher into the ball game. Gets some work here as we move to the home half of the third. Rangel Ravelo, Harrison Bader, Jose Martinez for St. Louis. And 2-0 our score, and there's strike one. We'll see a lot of Ravelo if you're tuned in for the first time here in spring. Ravelo, all he's done in the minor leagues is hit
300. That's all he does.
Rotation for Detroit after 2 scoreless innings by Norris. Michael Fulmer, who is the 2016 AL Rookie of the Year, he went 3-12 last year, and there was a lot of talk that teams were interested in him in the offseason, but if you're Detroit, do you sell low? Probably not. Jordan Zimmerman, Matthew Boyd, Daniel Norris here. And then there's 3 or 4 other guys that are fighting for spots, and there's a strikeout. And so first time through the lineup, the Cardinals, 3 strikeouts. Back to the top of the lineup.
And speaking of strikeouts, as you get a chance to watch Harrison Bader bat again here in the leadoff spot here today, which I think is an intriguing thought for somewhere down the road in the career of Harrison Bader, whether he could be a leadoff hitter, but the strikeouts would be something that he'd have to cut down on. But the intriguing part would be his power in the leadoff spot. He can drive the ball, but the way he runs the bases, I mean, there's just something about having a guy with good speed in that leadoff spot that can do some damage. He had 15 stolen bases last year for the Cardinals at the big league level. I mean, what do you think, Dan? 30 would be a number that we could hope for him?
Absolutely.
Plays every day?
Yeah. I think you'd have to look, to your point, where he hits in the lineup.
Right.
You know, there were times last year that the Cardinals tinkered with him at the top, you know, second in the lineup. And then there were times, especially in a National League lineup, if you're batting 8th, which we saw at times, that is not an easy spot in the lineup with the pitcher hitting behind you. Are you being pitched to? Are you being pitched around?
You tend to chase a little more if you're in that spot because the pitcher's being a little more careful with you with the pitcher on deck. And that's a part of the intricacy of baseball. And part of the interesting thing about not having a DH too, that strategy comes into play about lineup construction. I'm more thinking about him 5 years from now, not 5 games from now or even 5 months from now. Could he be a leadoff hitter eventually?
And he strikes out for the second time. So 0 for 2 today, pair of strikeouts.
And he couldn't pull the trigger either time as well. That's a pitch that he might have thought was outside, and he gave up on it, and it came back over the outside corner. And I think that face tells it all.
You know, going back to his power, Jimmy Edmonds has mentioned this before. He thinks that Bader could be a 15 to 20, if not more, type home run hitter. Time will tell. For those that don't know, Jimmy will be with us here in the booth throughout the season, but also has been in uniform down here and working with Harrison Bader and some of the young outfielders with Willie McGee.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy knows this game clearly, but I think that is a special thing to be able to have a Cardinals Hall of Famer who still gets excited about tipping pitches, getting jumps in the outfield, getting right routes, throwing to the right, all the things that Jimmy knows and did so well, and we enjoyed watching him for so many years. And now to be able to both do what we do up here and teach it, that's just, I think that's unique, number one, but I think it's terrific.
There's a base hit. Jose Martinez. Also, for fans that missed it over the weekend, Jose Martinez inked a 2-year extension with St. Louis. And the Cardinals have their first base hit of the afternoon. Extends the inning to Paul DeJong. Limited play last year. Paul DeJong with 19 home runs. '25 the year before. Where does Paul DeJong hit in this lineup with the addition of Goldschmidt? Really gives
good question.
You know, the Cardinals length in the lineup.
You could see him 5th or 6th.
Yep.
And that depends on a lot of other factors too. But it's a nice question to have to address because you're adding somebody like Goldschmidt to your lineup. And as John Mozeliak told us yesterday, the analytics and the eye test both say that tends to help out the rest of the lineup when you add a big time bat to it.
That'll carry near the corner. Wind playing tricks on that one. And that ball is foul. And a long strike off the bat of Paul DeJong.
That ball was just tailing on the right fielder and can't come up with it. But he does say hello to the wall down there.
That's a routine flyout, but that gives you a pretty good indication of how the wind is playing tricks on the baseball today.
I said it would happen once or twice. I'm going to say that's number 1.
There you go.
I'm not sure that flag is even as good indication of what it's been like at times during the day today.
We were down on the field when we did our open, and it was really blowing then.
Well, Danny, it's always windy when you and I are together.
Hot air.
Yes.
A lot of it.
You're tracking me.
Yes, sir. Been together too long, Ricky.
Oh, not too long. Not long enough.
There you go. Here's a 2-2 pitch. 3-2. Runner off with the next pitch. Our next televised game will be Saturday. Rick will be working on the radio side this week. And all baseball will be heard either on TV, radio, or over the internet. There goes Martinez, and the 3-2 is hit high in the air. Out to left. Coming in, Peterson to make the catch. Sends us to the 4th. 2-0. Tigers. Top of the 4th, and it's the Tigers leading by the score of 2-0. Candelario leads it off, and he's 0 for 1. And the first pitch is strike. Brzezinski got the double play to get out of last inning. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. Candelario will be the everyday third baseman for Detroit. Castellanos will be in right field. He was at third a couple of seasons for the Tigers. Struggled defensively. They moved him to right.
We saw Candelario briefly in the National League, but he became a bit of a power threat last year. 19 home runs for the Tigers.
And a punch out for the lefty. So the camp news and notes: Hicks, Reyes, Miller, all through live bullpens this morning. And the reports out of the backfields were tremendous. Dakota Hudson scheduled to start Wednesday against Atlanta. Yachty getting closer and closer to live action, and that's good news as well.
And the last bit of news, Andrew Morales, who had to come out of the game yesterday, will undergo an MRI on his right shoulder, so that will be something we follow. But the report about Yachty being able to catch and be back there on the 14th, that's a day that, of course, Cardinal fans will be excited about. Seeing Yachty back playing every day was interesting. John Mozela telling us yesterday that they're really trying hard to limit Yachty's innings for Yachty's benefit, but hard to limit Yachty because he wants to play every day, including spring training. So he almost considers this a blessing that Yachty's slowed just a tad.
Strikeout of John Hicks, back-to-back Ks.
This is a sharp breaking ball down in the dirt. Swinging over the top of it is Hicks.
Dustin Peterson will be the batter, back-to-back Ks now for Krasinski. This is good to see.
He handled the stress of his first inning very well. Got the double play ball to end it. Nice outing for the left-hander.
You think about lefties in any organization, you'd love to have them in a rotation if you can. Austin Gomber is on top, I would have to say, for the Cardinals. Certainly has a chance to make the club and potentially be in the rotation for Mike Maddox. Arizona Fall League Krasinski was very good. 9th round selection in 2017. And a pitch taken up and away, and it's 3 balls and a strike. Dustin Peterson.
Did want to follow up on our note about the live BP today. Andrew Miller and Jordan Hicks and Alex Reyes all threw well, all got rave reviews from Mike Schilt. Especially Reyes said his curveball was filthy.
In the corner in right, and a 1-2-3 inning. Spring training baseball is always live with MLB at Bat. Follow the action through game day. Watch a video, highlights, track stats, standings, breaking news, and more. Download MLB at Bat now. A lefty is in, Ryan Carpenter, who was drafted by Tampa Bay, 21st round, all the way back in 2008. Did not sign, played collegiately at Gonzaga. Drafted again by the Rays, this time in the 7th round in 2011, and signed, released by the Rays in 2014, signed by Colorado, and was in their minor league system until 2017, then elected free agency, and the Tigers signed him to a major league deal in November of 17. And made his major league debut with the Tigers. Called up to start second game of a doubleheader against Pittsburgh last year. He'll face Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna, Jerko, and Wong for the Cardinals. 1 ball, 1 strike. And a fly ball lifted out to left. Other days that may get out of here. Caught it off the end of the bat. Wind blowing towards the other side of the field, so Ozuna today 0 for 2, a line out and a fly out.
It's one of those at bats where you say, well, he did hit it off the end of the bat. He didn't get all of it, but you could tell he saw it well. I mean, the balance was good for Ozuna, and he had a really good spring last year offensively, but the arm is still a concern. You mentioned it earlier. You can't DH in the National League, at least not now.
Not yet.
Not yet. Right.
It is coming, you would think.
I may just have to call in sick that day just until I get over it.
Here's Jerko. Watch this one go towards the wall. Carries and catch made on the track. And 2 quick outs. Just going to call in sick.
Yeah, just for a day.
Emotional stress.
I think I'll have some, yeah. But I'll be back.
Yep.
I'll get over it.
Well, somebody, was talk of even being implemented this year, and there was no way you could do that in my mind because teams have already budgeted accordingly and game planned accordingly with the roster.
It's hard to do it either way. It's hard to get rid of it in the American League or to add it to the National League without that kind of consideration. I would almost say a few years in advance. I mean, you'd have to give them 3 or 4 years to me because your minor league's built that way. Your draft is built that way. I mean, you're developing players that way. I mean, maybe 2 years, but certainly would be unfair to just spring it on the National League in short notice.
No balls and 2 strikes on Colton Wong. And Wong sends it up into center field for a base hit on an 0-2 pitch.
And a hanger.
Not pretty, but he'll take it against a lefty.
Well, his eyes got big when he saw this pitch hang up in the zone and took advantage of it. He stayed with it. Outstanding.
There's Tyler O'Neill, hit a rocket to third first time up, and it was caught.
Couple of very, very good friends of mine with ties to the Cardinals are celebrating birthdays today. The first one is the Hall of Famer Rick Hummel, who's here at the ballpark today. I told him we'd bring him up on the air, and he wasn't too happy about that, but we did it anyway.
Happy birthday, Rick.
He's the best. Kamish, always a staple here at spring training, isn't he?
Absolutely.
And the second is one of my former roommates and a terrific postseason pitcher. Look up his numbers sometime, just how good he was in the playoffs in '85 and '87 for the Cardinals. Ken Daly. And he got one of those big numbers today.
He may not be happy with you either.
Well, right behind him.
But you can still say you're behind him.
I'm behind him, yes.
Happy birthday, Ken Daly. You want to say that number?
Starts with a 6.
Okay. We can probably figure it out.
Figure it out from there.
He was filthy.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, he was fun to watch. You talk about a left-hander that could dominate. And he could dominate right-handed batters, too. He wasn't your classic lefty, sinker slider guy. He was fastball, curveball, didn't have much of a changeup, didn't need it. Pitched inside on right-handers as well as any left-handed reliever that I've seen.
O'Neill draws the walk and a little 2-out rally here by the Cardinals. Home half of the 4th. Andrew Kisner will be the batter. Kisner struck out first time up, 0 for 1. 2-0 Detroit. Both those runs scored back in the second inning. Runners at first and second. A pitch taken inside. We'll say this. I think the pace of the pitchers so far, whether it be a conscious effort or not, or just because it's spring training baseball and, there just seems to be a pace to these games. Now, yesterday was long, but I mean the pace of the pitchers, it has been quick.
Yeah, and you know where I'm going next with that. I just think the hitters are getting to the box quicker. There's not the long, let's listen to my walk-up song for, about half the song and take my time getting to the box and say hello to the umpire and the catcher and the third base coach and go through the gyrations with the batting gloves. They're just getting to the box and hitting. We'll see if that keeps up.
Now, some of the pitchers have been minor league pitchers, so they're conditioned to that with a pitch clock that has been used in the minor leagues last couple of years. This pitch clock, they're used to it. 20 seconds, get on the mound and go, and the hitters are used to it too.
And again, the clock starts when the ball hits the glove of the pitcher when he's on the mound. But you saw that was a perfect example. Kisner wasn't ready to hit until it got to 9 seconds. Pitcher was ready before that. And I think you're going to see that more and more is the case. So Carpenter doesn't have a sign yet, but he's ready. He's as ready as he needs to be, but they're not going to give a sign until the pitcher steps in the box or the hitter steps in the box.
And the 1-2 pitch. Fly ball. Left field got underneath it. And the Cardinals strand 2. Head to inning number 5. Third of 15 games on Fox Sports Midwest here from Jupiter. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Hyundai. The Hyundai SUV lineup has always been better. Now it's bigger. Visit your local Hyundai dealer or buy Hyundai.com today. And by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket played gives back to Missouri schools. So play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. 2-0. We're in the top of 5 here at Roger Dean Stadium. Detroit with the lead and a new pitcher in for St. Louis.
Williams Perez, at one point a big league pitcher with the Atlanta Braves, and he's been kicked around since then. Actually went back to independent ball, but he was signed as a minor league free agent by the Cardinals. They have several of them here in camp. And when he was with Atlanta, he was in their rotation for a short time. That was in 2016. Nice job by Evan Krasinski. 2 solid innings for him. Always want to make an impression, Danny.
Yep. That probably doesn't help. Castro hit by the pitch. And the first man aboard for Detroit.
I think he made the impression of the seam of a baseball on his back of his leg there. Might have Rob Manfred's autograph on the back of that leg.
So Williams Perez signed by the Braves, non-drafted free agent 2009. Signed by the Cubs 2017, Mariners minor league free agent, and then Cardinals minor league free agent this past November. Here's Ronnie Rodriguez. First pitch is strike. So currently right now for the Cardinals, Gomber still being stretched out as a starter. Dakota Hudson, Ryan Helsley, who's made an immediate impression. Speaking of that, he pitched in our first game. There's a liner and knocked down out there, and the turn. Nice play by Ravello, who's off the bag. Almost a double play.
Ravello turned around to Mike Schilt and said, "Hey, you need to challenge that."
No challenges.
Like, yeah. You could see the smile on his face. Here's the play. Should have been maybe out number 1 there, but at least you knock it down, maybe turn it into a double play. And Ravello is thinking he might have been out. Let's review it ourselves, Dan.
That's Munoz at short. I'm calling him out. That's 2 down, and let's go. It's a 4-man umpiring crew here today.
Notice that.
We've had 3 normally. So this would be your normal rotation of umpires for a big league game. Victor Reyes at the plate.
And we don't normally give you the umpires spots during spring training because they'll move too.
Diving stop out there, and they'll get the lead man. Nice play. That's Urias, who hit the 3-run homer in game 1.
Nice play. Think of him as a shortstop. Middle infielder, can play a lot of different positions, but that was a nicely turned play on a ball going to his left, and his 3-run home run. That was pretty impressive.
There was.
Game one, as you mentioned. We're going to know the name Urias as spring training unfolds.
So 2 down, runner at first. And Daz Cameron at the plate. Ooh, nice play.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no time to get in front of that one. Throw the glove out. Hope you throw it in the right spot. Nice play by Kisner. You're set up one place. Whoops. He was the first guy out to the field today, Kisner. And he came out with Jamie Pogue about 12:15. The players had had their batting practice, their morning workouts, a lot of other things had already happened, but no player was yet in the Cardinals dugout until about 12:15. First guy out, he and Jamie Pogue did catching drills together about jumping to your left, jumping to your right, blocking balls. Guess that paid off.
And a throw down to second. But that was ball 4. That is something, though, that we should talk about with Kisner defensively, even though it was ball 4, just completing the catch and throw. And that's with Yadier Molina, with those that they talk about with catching. Working on catch and throw, the defensive drills, time and again.
And about Yadi communicating with him there. Yadi's paying attention to everything that Kisner's doing. Just think about Yadi's, look at the eyes he has on him. He is intently watching how he's set up. I mean, Yadi's feeling this competition at the moment. Yadi likes to have fun at the ballpark, no question about it. He's a good teammate, all that. But that is a face of a competitor right there.
Now Miguel Cabrera. So if you make the trip, and a veteran like Cabrera, you would think he's going to get at least 3 at-bats, maybe 4. There's a base hit into left. They're going to test the arm. We're going to have a play at the plate. Throw comes through and safe. Strong throw in left field. It's Dylan Carlson. They talk about him having a plus arm, can play either corner spot, left or right.
Well, he charges the ball well and gets rid of it quickly and throws it right on time. Love the fundamentals there. I think the call is right. As their home plate umpire was right on top of it. Impressive throw.
And that pitch taken down and in. Be a pinch runner for the Tigers.
I believe that's Cade pinch running.
It's Savic. That's the correct pronunciation. Cade Savic. And a fly ball lifted into center field. And the catch is made. We'll spin you around. 3-0 Detroit. And Detroit with lead of 3-0. The bottom of the fifth. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin here in the booth, and a pleasure to visit with the second-year pitching coach of the St. Louis Cardinals, Mike Maddox. Mike, thanks for joining us, and the headset down on the field. We appreciate it.
You bet. Glad to be here, man.
Well, let's talk a little bit about camp. How about your just general impression so far with what you've seen from your pitching staff?
Well, I've seen a lot of things, man. A lot of depth within the 33 guys that are here. Never been around a group like this to have so many good arms.
That pitch hit out to left field, and one pitch, one out. Now, we don't want to have a short inning with you, Mike, so let's get the offense going. Go ahead, Ricky.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Mike, about the guys that were able to throw this morning. There was a lot of attention, obviously, around Alex Reyes, Jordan Hicks, and, of course, Andrew Miller, all throwing live BP. What's your assessment of what they were able to do on the backfields?
You know, it was a really good morning to see those power arms go out there and prove themselves to be on the right track to regaining their health. And they're very close to pitching in games now. It'll be 3 days for Jordan and possibly 3 days for Alex Reyes and 4 days for Andrew Miller. So we're going to see them here in the spring training games very soon.
I do need some clarification. Mike Schultz said that Alex Reyes' curveball was dirty. Now, he didn't say it was filthy. It was dirty. So I need to know, is filthy or dirty? Which one's better?
Well, I think you might have to ask the hitters on that one. You know, some guys said it was filthy. Some guys said it was dirty. All we know is that Gertie and we liked it. We liked it.
I like hearing that. Who's really caught your eye so far in this camp? Can you give our viewers, our Cardinal fans, some guys that have really caught your eye so far?
Well, Mike Myers showed up with 2 more pitchers in his arsenal and executing well, and really you can see the off-season work that he's done and the commitment to improving his craft and widening his arsenal. So that really jumps out at you right away.
Alex Reyes, our fans are so excited about Alex, Mike. You know, can you give us a little idea of just where he's at, how he's progressing, and some of the things he's going through?
Well, you know, unfortunately he's accustomed to rehab. You know, he missed all last year with it and came back only through 4 innings, only to get back in the rehab mode. So he's really looking forward to getting out there competing, seeing hitters swing the bat and measure his stuff. But his progression has been great. Randy Neiman had a great job with him down here in January through spring training, where they got on a program and stretched him out, got him building his confidence that he was healthy. So now it's just a matter of him getting over that 90-95% hump that he's at right now.
Mike, a lot of the spring training games starting so early this year, and of course that's been a trend in baseball, and it's almost amazing to me that it's the 25th of February and we're in game 3 already. But as we watch some young pitchers like, let's say, Ryan Helsley, do we put too much stock in appearance number 1 or appearance number 2 in spring training, or is the game now that we're expecting guys ready to go from day 1, and you're evaluating them from day 1?
I think spring training has changed, that guys are, well, we've gotten better in the weight room and in the training room, so that guys do come into camp ready to go. The game is so much more explosive now that the guys are really preparing for it. And I think, unlike it used to be where spring training was to get in shape, I think the guys come in here in shape and then try to make the ball club.
Tell us a little bit about Adam Wainwright coming back this year. What have you seen from him?
He's looked good. He's found an arm slot that he can make the ball work the way he wants it to work, and he doesn't have the pain. So, adjustments, we always make adjustments, and Adam is a king of that. He's been doing it a long time, and, just his presence really lifts the clubhouse. It really lifts the ball team, and it's a pleasure to have a guy like him. He's been a great pitcher, but anybody who knows him would tell you, is he a better pitcher, better person? And they would all say he's a better person.
Ground ball that's hit to third. It's a quick inning, but Mike, you're off the hook. I mean, this is easy. You're off the hook.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
We appreciate it. Mike Maddox, always a class act. 3-0, end of 5. Back with more in a moment. The 2019 season features great giveaways all season long, featuring 6 jersey giveaways And those include 2 embroidered jerseys, adult and kids alternate blue jerseys, and so much more. So get your tickets to some of the jersey giveaways, and you can get those through the 10-game jersey pack or buy them as a single game ticket, and they're on sale now at Cardinals.com. So Perez will lead things off now for Detroit, and our score is 3-0. Cardinals only a couple of hits, so not a lot of offense thus far for St. Louis. The pitching has been pretty good. Only 4 hits allowed for St. Louis, and not much offense total in this game. It's Candelario for Detroit. And a ground ball that's foul.
Cardinals did not have a lot of offense in game 2 yesterday, but boy, did they have some offense in game 1. It was incredible, especially for those who missed it, what the Cardinals were able to do off the bench. 14 hits by the players that came off the bench in the middle of the game, and it's really fun to watch these young guys hungry, swinging the bat well. Tommy Edman, Lane Thomas.
Now, I know it's only been 3 games, and many of our fans are in and out of the games. Who's caught your eye? Because, you know, fans are always curious about the pitchers, the hitters, position players. There's always somebody that kind of emerges in camp that you're not expecting. And you got the usual suspects, right? You know, every year it's going to be Wainwright, Molina, and some of the others. But there's somebody that always emerges. Who is it for you?
Well, so far, one of the guys that I really like is Lane Thomas, defensively and at the plate. There's another guy that I like who hasn't necessarily had that level of contribution yet. He hasn't played a lot, but there's something about the way he stands at the plate. Dylan Carlson, for a young guy, just seems like a big leaguer to me. He's only 20, but he seems more mature than that. He seems older, seems like he's been around, seems very confident at the plate from the left and right side, and we saw him make a nice throw earlier in this game on the defensive side. But he's a guy that I'm intrigued by.
3-2 pitch. Ooh, just missed. And a leadoff walk by Perez. And we'll see John Hicks. Overcast skies, first time we've had that down here in Florida in quite some time, and breezy, cool. It's been a hot camp here in Jupiter, Florida. I know folks in the Midwest probably don't care to hear that. Temperatures have been in the high 70s today, and really it's been mid 80s for the better part of camp, high 80s at times.
We talked about this. Rain can disrupt the camp if it happens early, because you've got a lot of plans. You lay it out. Ollie Marmol is really helping lay out the schedule.
Could be 2, bobbled initially, and out. They still get him. There's this strong arm. Jairo Munoz showing it off. Boy, you love to see that.
Urias makes another nice play, gets it on the forehand side, then is able to make the quick turn, and that strong throw is the only reason it's a double play. That was a tough one to handle, and there's that short. He's got a short throw too. He's not a real long arm type thrower. I'm talking about Munoz, but he's got a cannon. Well, how about you, Dan? Who's caught your eye?
Certainly Helsley,
yes,
which I've talked about a lot. Lane Thomas, after watching the at-bats in game 1 and then going to get that ball in center in the first inning. Carlson, for sure.
Tommy Edman would be another one that I'm intrigued by.
Drew Robinson.
Yeah.
You know, we hadn't seen him. Now, you would think when you make the deal with Wisdom going to get him, and versatile player, again, for fans that don't know, can play all 4 infield spots, all 3 outfield spots, hits from the left side. The Cardinals may have a deficiency there. The bench on the left side. Maybe. You don't know. But, you know, you're learning about these players. But initially, seeing what he's done at the plate, yeah, caught my eye. Absolutely.
So I'll say this, you know, when a pitcher or player has a bad game, that doesn't necessarily make me feel like, well, boy, they're overmatched, they don't have a chance, because spring training can just be like that. Like Ponce de Leon had a bad day yesterday, just did not have a feel for his pitches, couldn't find the plate. Threw about 70% of pitches outside of the strike zone, and that's not him. So, you know, I don't put much stock in that and get overly worried about Daniel Ponce de Leon. But when somebody surprises you in a positive way, you think, wow, didn't quite expect that. Of course, the proof's in the pudding if you can continue to do that consistently, more than just one game.
Popped up near the Cardinal dugout, and that'll easily get out of play. So 3-2. It's funny, it's still February. So
Right.
a long way to go.
Yes.
But early impressions, I thought you made a great point yesterday. You can make an impression, though.
Yeah.
You know, that first time out, Helsley made an impression. And we talked to John Mozeliak off the air, and he said it was hard not to come away, you know, looking at that and saying, okay.
And I thought it was interesting, and we talked about that both off the air and on the air with him, and I feel like he was trying to convey that he's hesitant to get too excited too quick, and
Sure.
he said, but that
catches your eye.
Catches your eye, exactly.
Same thing with Mike Schilt, Ali Marmol.
Well, you know, you're not only catching the eye of your people, and we mention this every spring training, and it just bears to be repeated. There's also other people whose eyes you're trying to catch too. We visited with Marty Meyer, longtime scout that was with the Cardinals for many years and has been with the Reds, and he's here at the ballpark. Tim Conroy works with the Kansas City Royals. He's here. Several other scouts sitting below us, and they're looking for players too.
Ground ball to second. And the out. 3-0. We move to the home half of the sixth. Tigers on top. Bottom of the sixth, and it's 3-0 Detroit. Jairo Munoz will lead it off. And our Budweiser What's on Tap? Cardinals spring training. What's left on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest for spring training. Remember, the 28th will be the opener at Milwaukee, and that opener will include an hour-long pregame show, but we're back at it after today, this Saturday against Miami. That'll be the next telecast on Fox Midwest as Munoz taps it foul.
One of the things I'm enjoying as we took a look at that schedule is not only the games we're doing, but just the overall schedule, Dan. More games are close by here than we've experienced in the past. That started last year because the Nationals and the Astros are so close, and there are not as many trips as we've had in years in the past. And I think that makes it less complicated for Mike Schilt and Ali Marmol, as I mentioned, who helps him with the logistics of spring training. And Ollie's the one that prints out the schedule every day. But when you've got to go on a 3 or 4 hour bus ride to play a spring training game, that changes your work schedule, obviously, and it kind of shortens the time you actually have to get some things done in spring training.
One of the things talked about with the coaches this year is just how prepared down to the minute everything is. Ali Marmol, Ron Pop Warner, Mike Schilt, Mike Maddox, the rest of the coaching staff, the efficiency of this camp. As Munoz just got a piece, so they'll get done, let's say, with this game local time at 4 o'clock. Get something to eat, gather up. Mike will meet with the media, the players will, they'll shower up, they get out of here, do whatever they do. Then the coaching staff will go over the evaluations, some of the video, the players of what they have, and then talk about and plan already what happens the minute that they walk in tomorrow. Everything is planned. As Munoz will pick up a base hit into left field. And everything is planned up to the minute of that first pitch of the game tomorrow.
And the complexity of that is that you're dealing with 64 players. that you want to keep active. It's one thing I've noticed just my first impression here, Big Ben here for a week or so, just the first impression that I had and I still have is that there's not a lot of wasted time here either. I don't see the team staying here, you know, well into the afternoon just to be here time-wise. A lot of things going on at the same time. So you need multiple coaches on multiple fields to be able to accomplish that.
That's right.
And that's part of the kind of the quick-paced schedule. I mean, otherwise it's just busy work, Dan. You don't need to just be here for 8 hours just to be here. And I think they figured out a way to get the pitchers fielding practice in, the cutoffs and relays, base running, etc., without wasting time.
There's a ground ball off the bat of Edman and a double play. 4-6-3 turned nicely by Detroit. Not only are we your home of Cardinals baseball, but also St. Louis Blues hockey, and the interest of Blues hockey. Boy, are they hot, and they're fun to watch. Blues back in action tomorrow night. They'll host Nashville. Coverage begins 6:30 with our pregame show. Nashville in town. What a rivalry that has turned out to be. 6:30 Nashville Predators. And the pregame show tomorrow 6:30 Fox Sports Midwest.
I'm hooked.
Me too. 12-1-1 the Blues in their last 14 games. Here's Max Schrock, who has a 3-run home run this spring. Off speed pitch by Jimenez. Nasty stuff there. 0-2. We did not see much Max Schrock, part of the Piscotty deal last year. Jairo Munoz really moved ahead of Schrock as he made the team, or at least eventually was called up. Schrock only appeared in 2 games in spring. One of those was in Montreal in the exhibition, dealt with a oblique issue, and then did not hit all that well. He was known more about his bat when he came over from the A's organization. 0-2 pitch, fouled back.
Well, he hit over 300 with the A's, and he was the key player in that deal. The Cardinals thought they were getting a big hitting second baseman. And speaking of big hitting, this is Schrock on Saturday. Boom, big fly, 3-run home run. I'm sure that felt good.
It was good to see Stephen Piscotty have a bounce back year with Oakland a season ago. His mother, of course, passed away, ALS. And in his first game back, it was in Boston, at a home run. Very emotional night for him at Fenway Park.
He had a very good season last year.
Yeah. 2-2 pitch.
Good boy.
Home plate umpire Andy Fletcher.
Come on out.
And the 3-2 pitch to Schrock. Ground ball that is foul. Steven was such a likable kid. Cardinals drafted him, and he was part of that group with Wisdom, Stephen Piscotty, Carson Kelly, all third basemen, you may remember. And then Kelly was moved to catcher, and Piscotty moved to right field. And Stephen eventually brought up, made his debut against the Chicago White Sox, and then stuck. Signed a long-term deal with the Cardinals, then dealt to Oakland, and now with the Oakland A's. Strikeout of Schrock, 3-0 as we head to the 7th. The ballpark app is the one-stop shop to access and a way to manage your tickets, receive exclusive content, and find the best eats in the ballpark and more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today from your app store. For more information on what the Ballpark app has to offer, visit cardinals.com/ballpark app.
New Cardinal pitcher is one of those minor league free agents we talked about earlier, Mike Housechild, who's had some experience at the big league level, just 29 days with the Texas Rangers in 2017. And the Cardinals signed him this winter after spending some time with Toronto as well at the big league level last year, and then most of his time in AAA, where he was a starter.
And the 0-2 is a ground ball against the shift from the outfield grass. That is something that, in talking with the coaching staff in the minor leagues, they're seeing more and more. The shift in the minor leagues. Data is there for even minor league coaches.
Well, one thing the Cardinals did not do as much as most teams in baseball last year is shift against left-handed batters. And be curious to see whether that changes in 2019 or not, if there's a particular reason for that. That the Cardinals were more on the stay put side when it comes to shifting against lefties in particular, and that's where you put the second baseman in deep right, or deep second base, shallow right field, and bring two players on the right side to join him. And Cardinals just didn't do that as often. We'll see if they do this year. Now, one of the reasons that managers were originally hesitant to shift is the veteran pitchers at the time were uncomfortable with it.
You think it's a situation where a manager now just says, look, I know
you're doing it.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
I think you had to go through the change of this with veteran pitchers, and you know, I think veteran pitchers, you know, oddly are the ones that can deal with it better maybe than a young pitcher, because they'll know what pitches to stay away from. But I think what the veteran guy's original thought was, Dan, is you've just taken away half the plate for me. Now I've got to get all my strikes on one side of the plate, and I can't pitch. Because if I throw one away and he hits it away, everyone will say I didn't pitch properly with the shift on. Well, you have to use both sides of the plate to pitch effectively. And again, I think what the metrics will say, what the analytics will say, is that when you shift, you're staying away from more potential danger.
Hauschild has pitched in the big leagues, albeit briefly, with Texas and Toronto. With Texas in 2017, as Ricky mentioned, and the Blue Jays in 18. He's been with Houston, Texas, Toronto, and now St. Louis. Not many people can say it, but hey, I got that big league call up.
And he's gotten it a couple of times from not bad for a 33rd round draft choice out of the University of Dayton.
Pretty cool. 999th overall pick. 999.
I'm going to have to research the number, Dan. I do it every year as we go into the new season, the number of players that have ever played in the big leagues and how low that number is. 19,000 something, 500, but close to that. And he's one of them ever that played. I mean, that just seems like such a small number to me.
I'm going to try to look it up for you.
Okay.
You piqued my interest, Orton.
All right. You've got 3 innings to find it, so you don't have to go too fast with that phone of yours.
Which I'm not sure I trust anyway.
If it's on the internet, it must be true.
Of course.
Well, we're going to lose Dan for the next couple of innings because he's doing research now. I may have to take over flying this plane.
Go ahead. This is yours.
And there's a ground ball to the right side. Rebello flips to Hauschild covering. And a nice 1-2-3 inning. Cardinals.
Gregory Soto, the new pitcher for Detroit. $19,103 players have played in Major League Baseball. 19,103.
Isn't that amazing that the number is that low? Think about, you're at Busch Stadium, you're filling up the bottom level with everybody who's ever played. It just seems like it'd be more than that. Half a stadium. I mean, you got Ty Cobb sitting next to Mike Hauschild. You've got
what's up, Ty?
You've got Babe Ruth maybe getting a larger seat, maybe.
Well, I don't think I'd want to sit next to Ty. He'd probably be mean, upset about something.
You know, there are reports that he was that way. There are some people that believe that's overrated, and he was actually a good guy. I don't know. I know he's a good businessman because he invested in a
certain soft drink
that exploded and made him
a lot of money.
A lot of money is right.
Did I ever tell you about the letter I saw? I helped. So when Stan the Man passed, they found a lot of, different things in his house that had not been discovered. Gone through closets and I guess his garage and whatever. But there was a letter, and I had helped put together a video that was they were going to put it to auction. And there was a letter from Ty Cobb to Stan.
How about that?
And I read the letter, and it's an amazing. I don't know who bought it. I don't know how much it went for, but anyway, the gist of the letter started out, and this is Randy Arozarena essentially scolding Stan when they were at the Hall of Fame about not giving them enough attention. And then at the end of the letter, and I'm just paraphrasing the letter, but
yes.
By the end of the letter, it started talking about how great a hitter Stan was, and then talking about situational hitting.
Is that right?
It was awesome. It was just an amazing letter.
So they were actually doing situational hitting back in 1915.
I enjoy how you do this. I think you do this right. By the way, I enjoy your hitting. Sincerely, Ty Cobb. It was an amazing letter. I should have taken a picture of it and saved it. And, but it was amazing.
Just could have bought it.
I was not going to buy it. I don't think Libby would have enjoyed that because we would not be maybe eating today. But it was an amazing piece of history.
Between innings here, Dan, there he showed some Cardinal highlights from season ago, and here on the scoreboard, the nice crowd here today at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. And I had a chance to hear one of your Grand Slamma calls.
Yes, sir.
And I'm getting you primed for potentially
one in this inning.
Having one this inning, so get it ready.
I think last year you had a premonition about one of those.
I did.
And it came to fruition.
Yeah, I did.
Uh-huh.
And it'd be handy. Cardinals trailing by 3.
I think you're way too early on that. You got to wait for regular season. Don't burn that now.
Hey, you just feel it when you feel it.
Well, that's true too. That's thrown away by Soto, and Arozarena will advance to second base.
And Slamma. A little more PFP maybe in store.
Well, we saw that in 2006 with the Tigers.
Didn't we ever?
Oh boy,
several times.
Gave the Cardinals a world championship.
I mean, that really is the thing you remember most from that. There's a lot of things in that, but the Tigers' mistakes in that series were glaring.
Come on.
11 walk-off wins. Maybe, well, we wouldn't be a walk-off in the 7th inning. I'm just kind of feeling it, Dan.
This is Joe Hudson at the plate with the catchers in camp down the left field line, and a terrific play made.
Wow. There was some complexity to this play because you're trying to avoid bullpen personnel, the mound itself, and then the bench, and he's still able to catch it. Of course, wind has been a factor today. That was a very nice play.
It's a Luke Birch in left field with that catch.
The Tigers have brought over several minor league players, so their minor leaguers have reported a little earlier than some of the Cardinal minor leaguers have, and perhaps they have something similar to the step camp that the Cardinals have. But there's several players here that are non-roster, non-camp players who made this trip.
And that's pulled foul. Gregory Soto was the Tigers' organization's minor league pitcher of the year 2 seasons ago.
Vamos, tráelo, vamos. No.
Ronel Rebello at the plate. Brian Bartow was listening to our conversation, and he tells us that 1,992 Cardinals have played here in St. Louis. And he says, who will be number 2,000?
About that. So it's 1992.
1,992 have played, worn that uniform, made a debut for St. Louis. And he poses the question, who will be number 2,000?
It's interesting. We may have, well, we had so many rookies last year. It'd be hard to repeat that many rookies.
Really, last 2 years, you think about it.
Let's say you get 6 or 7, 5 or 6, maybe this year.
Ripped out to left and a base hit. Rosarena being waved home. Throw to the plate is cut off, and now the Cardinals get on the board on a base hit. Rosarena scoring, and the Cardinals pick up their first run of the game.
Well, we've said it about Ronel. He can hit. 300 career minor league average. And a good jump off of second base by Rosarena. Pop Warner waving him home, and Cardinal fans who haven't had a chance to get to know Ron Pop Warner are going to get to know him much better this season. He'll be very active, hopefully, waving people home.
Adolis Garcia represents the tying run at the plate. Ground ball hit to short, bobble.
Now, I do have a bone to pick with Pop, though. I think he should have held the runner at third to set up the grand slammer possibility with Dylan Carlson.
I don't think I can argue with that.
Okay.
You wanted to add to the excitement.
So if Carlson goes deep, you can call this almost a grand slammer.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, how much time do you have? You know, that's the speed of Garcia that forced that play, and that's what speed does for a team. Adolis runs so well, and the shortstop knew it, and he rushed the play and booted it. 2 errors in the inning now for Detroit.
2 balls, no strikes. And the 2-0 pitch to Dylan Carlson. Little chopper hit out in front of the plate. And he's retired. Cardinals strand a pair. Ravello, the base hit into left. Rosarena, great speed, scoring. Cardinals get up. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals. Ricky just gave Connor Jones a standing ovation. And for fans that have watched our telecast over the years, they can probably figure out why. It's 3-1. Cardinals trail, and Ricky, you can explain why.
No, I prefer to have you explain why I'm excited about Connor Jones. First of all, look forward to watching him pitch. He's a guy that has very good background. He was a second-round pick in 2016. He's 24 years old, and he was a part of a national championship team when he was in college in 2015. And while he was pitching for the University of Virginia.
Okay, Ricky, let's do it once and one time only. Where did you go to school?
Went to the same place, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Never heard that. Many years ago you went there.
Many years ago. Yes. And there's the problem that you have is there's several more players now who are playing baseball that went there. At the time, there were so few that. But the program has certainly been on an upswing.
Boy, they've been terrific.
One thing about Jones, one thing he shared with me last spring training, I had a really good visit with him last year, and he's talking about how his minor league numbers weren't great at the beginning. They've been okay. I mean, his 15-10 and 62 minor league games, and he's been mostly a starter. But what slowed him a bit is learning how to pitch, because in college, something we talked about yesterday, they call all your pitches. And when now you get into professional ball and they want to know what you want to throw, and how about that hard breaking ball, it's a learning experience. And he's a sharp guy, but he had never really had to deal with that before.
Gets a strikeout of Troy Montgomery. Cade Savic, which is spelled S-C-I-V-I-C-Q-U-E. Savic. And the 1-0 pitch is a ground ball that's hit to second. 2 quick outs. Connor Jones.
Might have to jump into the school fight song if he has a 1-2-3 inning.
Got his mic. I'll take it from here. I'll give you 1 in regular season, 2.
You will?
You get this one, and you get 1 in regular season, and then that's it.
Didn't realize you were in charge of doling that out.
Yes. 1 and 1. And then I give you 1 in postseason, 2.
About postgame, pregame?
No. That's it.
Radio?
No.
You're tough.
That's it. Over. Dewell Lugo at the plate, the 1-0 pitch. You know, Connor Jones, they talked about a pretty good sinker, a lot of ground balls.
Yes.
So he was in the class with Dakota Hudson. And, you know, you think about ground balls, you think about sinkers. Those are 2 guys that get you some ground balls. Same draft class.
And you can win with that. And I think, you know, you do get kind of thinking in a particular direction when you go for a draft, that maybe you think, well, we need power pitchers, we need lefties, or we need ground balls. You got a couple of them.
Like to see that? Go ahead. Fight song.
Not going to do.
3-1, and it's the bottom of the 8th. That kind of day here at Roger Dean Stadium. Kind of a lazy, comfortable afternoon here in Jupiter. The Cardinals Kids Club, presented by Rawlings, the exclusive fan club for kids 13 and under. You will get 2 tickets to a home game. Yadier Molina pillowcase, you need that right now. Fredbird mug, lunch bag, and more, all for just $30. Cardinals.com/Kids Club. 3-1 our score. And a new pitcher in, Anthony Castro, last season in the minor leagues for Detroit. Jairo Munoz. Interesting what could happen from the right side of the bench if you think right now, and it's barring injury, and you know, long way to go here in spring training, but right side of the bench, ground ball that's hit to short. You've got a backup catcher, you've got Martinez, you've got Jerko. I mean, that's 3 spots already right there. You've got to have a left-handed bat. That's 4. And the way the schedule is in the beginning of the season, Ricky, you could carry, you know, maybe 5 bench players, maybe 4, depending on what you want to do with your bullpen.
It's interesting the way John Mozeliak said. He says he's going to fight to see how many pitchers, and I believe he was on the side of saying he wanted there to be 12 instead of 13. But, you know, and it's interesting that, first of all, Mo has to actually use the word fight for it, because I think he pretty much has some influence there. But the point is, there's disagreement about that. There's I would say healthy disagreement and discussion, because it's not clear, because you want the 5 guys, but you also want the extra pitcher. Well, you can't have both. You can have 25-man roster, that's it. And the extra pitcher gives the manager a little more flexibility late in games on the lefty-righty situation, but you sure would like to have a left-hander off your bench.
Left-hander with pop is something you'd like to have too. Cardinals went and got that with Matt Adams at the end of last season. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tommy Edman at the plate, and he strikes out. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. And again, another look at Max Schrock. 0 for 1, struck out back in the 6th inning. And a strike. Beginning of the season, the way the schedule plays out with off days and that kind of thing, you can manipulate how many relievers maybe you want to take. I think maybe the Martinez situation gives you time to let him, if you don't want to have him break camp. That's again early. I mean,
right.
you're guessing at this point how you want to do it, but that's something to think about as well.
But you also have the other side. Early in the season, you're a little bit more hesitant going from Florida to cold weather baseball to have guys go out and go more than 6 innings in their first start, more than say 80-90 pitches.
Sure. Which
of course we're seeing that all season long anyway, but even more so that first time out, you want to make sure you don't go too deep with a guy.
And Schrock looks at a strike, 3-2. That's Mike Myers throwing in the Cardinal pen.
Interesting, that's the first name that came out of our pitching coach's mouth, Mike Maddox, when he visited with us today, about the guy that you're most impressed with.
Out of play, 3-2, it stays.
And the thing that he was impressed with is the fact that he came to spring training with 2 more pitches.
Last season at the end, Wrigley Field, he told Mike Myers when he made a call down to the bullpen,
right,
I'll bring you into the game, but you're going to throw curveballs.
Right. You have to.
And we'll see if that happens when he comes into the game today.
And by the way, in that game, he pitched to Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant. And with having to throw a pitch that he hadn't thrown.
Got weak contact a couple of times.
Weak contact with all 3 of them and got through the inning. Got a double play. Bryant hit into a double play to end the inning. And so he had all winter to think about the fact that he had a nice new toy.
We had researched that. Those were the only curveballs he had thrown all season.
Yes, correct.
Inside to Ramon.
Urias.
Hit a home run the other day. Want to know the count? So I'll be very interested to see Myers come in this game and what he throws. That's fouled back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Think he's got the same order today? You have to throw one?
Well, you know, he's out of options. And
right.
You know, you pitch to make a team, but you also pitch to get ready for a season. What's his mindset? What are the Cardinals thinking about him? I think he's got nasty stuff.
I thought he was I'm not going to say underappreciated, undervalued, underused maybe early in the season. And I thought he was
underused.
I thought he could have been much more integral part of late innings in the early going. I mean, the Cardinals were searching for a closer, and he was the lights out guy here in spring training, and then got on that shuttle back and forth to AAA, and I'm not sure that That was a very helpful thing for him.
I think it was at one point, Ricky, I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but it was something like 13 days he had gone and had not thrown.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the season. He came out, pitched, and then it went almost a week and a half, something like that, 13 days, and then went back out there. And, you know, being a reliever, I mean, you can lose touch, lose feel.
Think of one of the kind of the odd thing that Stubby Clapp had to deal with all year last year is, let's say you send Brebbia and/or Myers down, and now part of the deal is they have to be there a certain number of days. If you get sent down, unless there's an injury, you can't bring him back up. So you send him down. But the point is, after those days are up, the big league club's going to want him ready at some point. So they don't want to hear that you threw him 2 innings back-to-back days. I mean, so what do? You sit there, too, because you have to be ready. I just think that's a tough thing to manage.
First and second now for the Cardinals.
And I should go back to this and finish this little line of our broadcast tonight. I had a premonition about hearing you make the call, Grand Salama, and it didn't happen last inning, but they played
time.
No, but they played it between innings again, so I did get to hear it.
Well, they played it earlier too.
I know.
So,
well, I got to hear what I wanted to hear. It's just not live.
Just hold on, Rick.
Okay.
You're a little jumpy today.
I'm just anxious to hear your calls, Danny.
Randy Arozarena has scored the only run for St. Louis today and looks at a strike. I like it when you get a little jumpy, though. You're just anxious. You want to see a little bit more offense here.
Yes.
The 0-1 pitch. And he did go. 0-2. Adam Wainwright will make a start against Washington, and then Dakota Hudson will go Wednesday. Sends a fly ball into center. Cardinals will strand a pair. Mike Myers coming up. He'll make his spring debut when we come back. Our Budweiser player of the game, Evan Krasinski, 2 innings. This really helped him out, that double play in the first inning. After that, solid. Did have 1 walk, struck out 2, and our Budweiser player of the game for the Cardinals. Could be penciled in for the AAA rotation for St. Louis. And here's a look at Mike Myers. Pumps a strike in, and his spring debut as we start play here in the 9th inning. Our crowd today, 4,581. Mike Myers, his numbers from a season ago, and a good fastball in there. Last year, the Cardinals moved him exclusively to the bullpen, and we saw velocity rise. First couple of pitches here, been in the mid-90s. 4 curveballs thrown in 2018, and all in the final appearance at Wrigley Field.
What's interesting, Dan, is it's a bit of a change in the approach. When he went to the bullpen first, he was just fastball slider, and the idea was he had been a 4-pitch pitcher prior as a starter in the minor leagues, but he thought as a reliever he should just hone in on 2. There's a curveball.
Out to shallow left, diving catch, and a nice play for the first out. Dylan Carlson with a nice play in left field.
Not the best of curveballs. He let it up in the zone a little bit. It was up and away, but it gets an out, and it becomes an out because of this play. Not an easy day to play the outfield, as we mentioned, with the swirling wind. Good hands by Carlson. But one thing that Mike told me was and that was working for him. Fastball, slider. It was just boom, 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 just kind of working off those 2 pitches. But what was happening to his slider is it was just getting harder and harder. So that was the hard slider and the hard fastball. And you needed something to change speeds, especially if he's going to be a guy that will be more than just a 1-inning guy, which he could be. He could be your middle of the game Andrew Miller type pitcher from the right side.
And 2 quick outs. Jake Rogers retired for on number 2.
I also, Dan, have neglected to inform you that I did my homework from yesterday.
Good job.
And you recall the situation. There was a play that Jairo Munoz threw a ball and it hit a runner who has already been tagged out, and the ball went in the left field. And the question that we had was that a dead ball or a live ball? And several players and coaches I asked about that. The call on the field was what we kind of end up thinking was the case, is that the ball was live, unless an umpire deems that the runner is intentionally getting in the way of a thrown ball, and then that extra runner would have been out going into second base in that case. So it was a live ball. Munoz made a play, made a tag play, turned to throw, and just one of those crazy things that happens in baseball that you just don't see all the time.
Hardly ever. Here's an 0-2 by Myers, taking eye. I'd be curious then. I'm going to ask if a runner's at first or second, third, doesn't matter. Base runner on, catcher throws it, and you've seen this before. Catcher just catches the ball, throwing it back to the pitcher, and hits off the helmet of the batter.
Right.
Throwing it back to the pitcher.
We have seen that
many times. More homework for both of us.
Man, back to school again.
Dylan Carlson, fine play in left. Great way to see a game at Busch Stadium this summer. Group of friends or family. Group tickets on sale now. Take 20 or more, receive great incentives, including a discount of up to 50% off the gate price in most seating areas. So for details, visit cardinals.com/groups. Number to call, 314-345-9000. Spencer Watkins for Detroit is the new pitcher. Last year in the minor leagues. Appeared in 27 games. 30th round pick in 2014. Joe Hudson will be the batter. Cardinals trail 3-1. And an offensive explosion, Ricky, in game 1, but the bats have been quiet in game 2 and here in game 3.
I always talk about enjoying good base running and good defense, but you do want to see offense as well.
And there's one away. So Wainwright tomorrow, Hudson on Wednesday. Our next televised action will be right here at Roger Dean Saturday against Miami. Ronel Ravello as the only RBI for the Cardinals. Drove in a Rosarena back in the 7th inning. And he takes a ball inside. Here's a 1-0. Adolis Garcia at the on-deck circle.
Doesn't surprise me that Ravello continues to put up those numbers at the minor league level, hitting 300. He just has I just like his plate coverage. He has a good balance at the plate. It's something you always look for, and if you're trying to find hitters who have a chance for success, but pitchers are looking for guys who are not balanced so they can take advantage of that.
Signed as a minor league free agent in 2017. Draws a walk. He's been in Pro Bowl since 2010. Originally a 6th round pick by the White Sox. Spent time with Chicago, Oakland. He was in the Jeff Samardzija deal, so he was thought of enough to be in that deal. Then the Cardinals picked him up as a minor league free agent. Here's Adolis Garcia. And a pitch taken high.
Mundo Sosa is the pinch runner.
Talked about it the other day. The Cardinals, they think this is a big spring training for Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena. This is the time that they've got to get some separation.
Well, they both have tools. They can both hit.
Plate discipline, recognizing pitches.
Yep.
And that's been the problem for Garcia, just recognizing in particular the slider. Fouled back.
You know, I think that's a kind of a difficult thing to understand too, because you have to take into consideration, Dan, that you might be able to recognize a slider when you're in Double-A, but recognizing a slider and recognizing a plus slider might be two different things. And I think that's what happens when you get to the big leagues. You say, well, where's his discipline? Didn't they see, well, he had it maybe a little better at lower levels.
And there he's hit by the pitch. So with one out, Cardinals will have the tying runs on and the winning run coming to the plate.
I think they caught him in maybe the side of the hand.
Well, the Cardinals had exciting moments last year with all the walk-offs, 11, third most in franchise history, 13 in 91 and 92. That's the most in franchise history, and they had 8 walk-off home runs. Dylan Carlson at the plate, and he looks at a strike. Combined last year, Carlson had 11 home runs, and there's a base hit into right. And now Jairo Munoz coming to the plate. He had a walk-off home run against Felipe Vasquez. What was one of the more dramatic and crazy wins for the Cardinals a year ago against the Pirates.
Carlson hits a pretty good curveball. That was not a bad pitch. It may have hung a tad, but being held at third just in case. Danny gets to say,
oh, if you want it, you're going to get one here.
All right.
Blow the headset right off Ricky Horton.
I'm ready.
Oh! Munoz hits it out to left near the line, and the catch is made. Runner will tag, and it's now a 3-2 Detroit lead. Munoz with the RBI. 3-2 Tigers with the tying run at second base, and Tommy Edman coming to the plate. Base hit could tie it up. moves the runner to score. And he is safe. And this game is tied. Garcia scores. Edman, with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, ties it up at 3-3.
I love the clutch hitting here. I'm not sure he was safe at the plate.
Totally agree.
But no replay. Don't have to worry about it. More important, Edman showing that he can hit. There's the tag. He must have missed him. I thought from where. Yeah, he did. He didn't actually make the tag.
And now Max Schrock could win it. Schrock, a little flare out to left. And the catch is made. Tommy Edman with the base hit into right field. He was safe. We're tied 3-3. And we will head to a shootout. No, it's a tie in baseball sometimes.
Don't get a point for this.
No, you don't get a point, but the Cardinals are at 500.
Yes, and of course, in spring training, you go ahead and just finish it as a tie unless you have pitchers that you want to see, but both clubs used the pitchers they wanted to see today. A couple of nice moments there in the 9th inning. Tommy Edman, the base hit, also Dylan Carlson contributing in that ninth.
So the Cardinals were down 3-1, pick up a couple of runs in the bottom of the 9th, and they wind up tying it up 3-3. Our next telecast, no extra innings today. They're done. Will be Saturday at noon on Fox Sports Midwest, the Cardinals and the Marlins. Thanks for being with us. For Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, our entire crew. 3-3 the final, and we'll see you on Saturday.